live from the Real Guppy Dockside Learning and Multimedia Center. It's the Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon, brought to you by AFTCO Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. And now, here's your host, Community Kevin Brannon. This is the Real Anglers Podcast with Community Kevin Brannon. And of course, Barry is here as well. And today, we're just yakking.
We're just chopping it up a little bit, kind of do a little recap. It's about that time, which is cool with me, man. Some days, you know, this term I used to use, Scotty, was, I heard that I didn't used to use is overstimulated, you know? And sometimes, when I used to be a trainer, sometimes, man, when you got to personal train 5 people back to back, by the time you get to the 4th and 5th, you just kind of got a little energy. You kind of get low depleted on your energy because you've been so much energy of going out. So Thursdays, Tuesdays are busy, and Wednesdays, and the open house. So some days I need to just recenter myself and from being overstimulated. But I never thought about that before until
you got overstimulated.
Work through it,
yeah. Until you found out that's what the word was.
Yeah, till there was a terminology. So that being said, the point I want to open that with is even I come in here with all the energy sometimes, and I'm all fired up. But there's some days where even I'm a little tired right now. I'm kind of carb depleting for my training program as well. I'm on like day 58, so we modified some calorie intake, and I've also upped my cardio, so I'm doing an extra 5 more minutes per day on that while depleting down some of my energy sources. So there's a combination, but the cool thing is to be self-aware of that, so that way if I do get moody, or if I am in a certain moody, that I could kind of correct it, you know what I mean? Versus being a jerk.
Everybody gets there. Everybody gets to the point that they have, it's like a snapping point almost. And it leads to the exhaustion that you're experiencing. And the good news is that you're aware of it. I've seen you apologize to people, not apologize. Well, you did. I didn't mean to be so snippy or angry or something like that. So you're aware of it.
Try not to apologize.
And sometimes it's tough. I know.
But the reason why is I feel like I don't, maybe again, it's just how you communicate it. You know what I'm saying? If you're getting snappy at somebody because it's like your kid, for instance, right? I had to give this. If my son doesn't pick up his toys for the 3rd or 4th time, then maybe you're a little shorter fused and you're like, now you're grounded, oh, Dad, why? Because you didn't listen, right? So when you're snappy with somebody because of the fact that you're trying to correct them, kind of that sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't just walk around being
you're not just
that way, but when you come in and you already got like other things are going on and then somebody like, now what do you want? And it's like, so I try to, be just aware of that because all the stuff, all the pressures that I deal with, that comes on with entrepreneurship and being a leader and a community leader and being pulled in a lot of directions is that, I asked for this and I prayed for this. So there's like Nipsey says, that sometimes it's supposed to feel uncomfortable, it's supposed to feel like that. It's just a matter how we respond.
Right. And you've got a lot on your plate. You've got a lot of balls in the air, as they say.
Yeah.
And, it gets to a point sometimes. Well, I wish you could take a vacation, but there ain't no way that's happening for a while.
Glad you said that because today I got something in the mail from Carnival Cruise Line and I've left it on my couch. I took a picture and sent it to my kids and was like, I'm just going to leave this right here. Yeah, dude, that's something that I can look forward to. But again, this is a good way to start it because as a solopreneur and when you're doing it, you said juggling a lot of balls. When I started building our board of directors, one of my friends, Roberto from the Boys and Girls Club said, I'm spinning a lot of plates and I need people to help me spin those plates. So now the next chance is that we have people to spin the plates is to make sure that they're spinning them the right way. Because sometimes again, overcorrecting them to spin it, you know what I mean? Delegating basically, right?
Right.
To help them to help me versus some that have been here that have, now I'm doing my plate plus your plate, you know what I'm saying? And then that's where you start to look at growth and development. And okay, I need to trust you to spin the plate when I'm not here and being able to know that that's getting taken care of, and as you transition to delegating and responsibility, that trust to coming along with it. So now you're trying to establish trust in somebody to help spin a plate that you've been spinning all by yourself and not micromanaging them while they spin it,
And sometimes that's hard because sometimes I've been accused of being a control freak. And I readily admit sometimes I am. It's hard to designate somebody to do something and then not tower over them and make sure they're doing it the way you want it to be done.
Yeah.
It has to do with a lot of trust.
That's where it comes to. That's as part of a leader. That's when you get to do your own self inventory, right? Do you have the tools necessary? Do you have the training necessary, right? So I'll give you this analogy. I was just talking to my daughter about it. She's going to be coming on to manage her own department. As you know, there's 11 of us in a huddle, right? And we go over the play, and then I'm the quarterback, so I drop back to pass, and I'm expecting my receiver to be, run a little 7-yard out. Boom, I hit him. So I throw the ball there, and the receiver's on the sideline having a Gatorade with the defense. I'm like, hey, where'd you go? I can't correct that. If you did a 9-yard or you went left instead of right, you did a curl instead of a slant, we can fix that, right? Okay, where was that? Where do we fix that? But if you just run it off the field, I can't fix that part.
No.
And that's where you get to a point of saying, okay, are we giving you the skills that you need? Are we giving you the time that it's required? Are we giving you the right training? Because I believe when, if you watch our show a lot, me and Scotty come from the same background of exterminating. Well, he worked in the office. I'm in the field.
I was the dispatcher.
Right.
He was the killer.
Right. Killer hired. I was an assassin. But part of it was, hold on, Neekers is calling.
Go ahead and take it. We can cut this out.
Hold on.
Okay. Or you can text her.
The podcast.
I guess we're not going to cut it out, folks.
This is real stuff right here. There's my granddaughter looking all
so
pretty.
Cute.
But that certain, do I have the right tools, right? If we're going to go kill mosquitoes, or if we're going to do something, hey, you got to do these bait stations. Well, hey, guess what? We're at a contract block. So how do I do bait? I got to do a callback. So I got to go back because you didn't order the right material because you're trying to keep a couple of dollars to hit your end of your month. And by you skimping on your budget, we don't have the product. And then you know what I'm saying? And so how do I go, do I just go check the bait stations and play the whole role? We walk around and check all the bait stations knowing damn good and well we don't have any bait. There's nothing in inventory. That's a management issue. But you're going to come down on us for something where, hey, isn't this, So making sure that I never get that part back to me, that you have the training, you learn how to run the route.
You've got the tools, you've got the
been
materials.
there, you've been doing what you need, you've been practicing. We have the training facility, you got training staff, right? You got a jersey, you got a helmet, you got the pads. What happened?
And you got to be prepared for emergencies too, because sometimes things happen that don't have those management controls. For example, you were talking about the product. Sometimes the product wasn't available because it had been double ordered and back ordered over and over again, and the company that supplied it didn't deliver. That becomes an emergency. You got to figure out a way to work.
Well, see, that's the thing. There's a difference between being proactive and reactive. And in some cases, scenario, you could understand that. But when you see there's a deliberate thing of manipulating certain things to keep you in your budget for your bonus, that's different.
That's true.
Don't manipulate and then tell grown folks that what they're telling you is fake. I think the kids call that gaslighting nowadays.
That's right.
So that's what I mean by if you're trying to keep your costs down to show that you're in the green for your month with your orders versus your supplies. If you know that ant season is busiest from this time of year to this time of year, you do not run out of Termidor. How do you run out of Termidor? Termidor is what we use for killing ants, right? And we know that nothing works better. But if you don't order our supply, again, go imagine going out to the war and they guess, hey, we ain't got no bullets, y'all. Something came up. We ain't gotten good luck out there. Here's a slingshot.
That's not going to help.
Right?
Not going to work.
So how are you going to expect to send me into war without the right stuff and blame it on the company didn't deliver it?
Yeah, that's true.
Because you don't take none of my excuses. Hey, well, let you know why I didn't get these done because of this, and that. They're like, nah, they don't have that same. And this is another term we like to use in business is grace and mercy. Do you extend the same grace and mercy to your staff that you wanted to see when you were a staff member? Especially again in pest control. And I use a lot of this because if you went from a technician to a service manager, you know what it's like in the field. When you start to turn a blind eye to knowing what it's like to be in the service because you were a service one and start switching over to the bureaucracy side of things and lying to me as well, then how are you a leader? Because you know that you're just telling me a bunch of you're feeding me stuff that you know when we used to be
told to say
attacked. Yeah, that you know what's really right and wrong. Now you're being asked to fib to your guys and they want to respect you knowing that you're fibbing to them.
That was the good thing about that job for both of us is that we both learned things that we should do and things that we shouldn't do. And I will never, I learned a lot from doing that I've used in my time since then. Mm-hmm. And you look at you've certainly done the same.
Well, that's because we try to follow a culture and a mission that we stand behind. Remember, we used to have these virtues up on the wall.
Yep. And
it's like, okay, so are those just posters, or do they bear meaning, or you're able to bend those rules when it's acceptable for management? And that's what we don't want to do here. So going back to our logic of what we're doing, trying to establish a culture of staff and following the mission and treating people like human beings and not manipulating them for the benefit of the organization. I think sometimes that's what corporates do. So again, as a part of being, when you're really trying to be righteous and do all the right things, that might come with a certain burden that you don't compromise what your integrity, in the sense of doing that. Being transparent sometimes takes more effort and energy than it does to tell them what they want to hear.
That's true.
Or what you want them to hear.
What you want, yeah.
And what happened with me, man, I'll give you guys this outline that's listening. I listened to this book called 7 Habits of Successful People by Coveney. And he was talking about that in the 1920s and the 30s, and why people had to start unions and stuff just for fair treatment and labor in the board. So it's not a new practice of some of these big corporate businesses, how they treat the entry-level position guys or the people, right? Like if they could stand you on your feet putting together vehicles, they would, hey man, I got to use the bathroom. Well, sorry, if everybody took a bathroom break, we'll be at 1 car behind per day. And it's like, well, yeah, but what about
I got to go to the bathroom. Yeah.
So you have people that are wondering, well, do we give them a break, or, we're not going to, that's, 300 cars a year we could get done because we're letting people use the bathroom. And somebody's like, yeah, but you got to have
human thing. Yeah.
You have to have this somebody's really pondering profits over people, and stuff like that. So here, when I'm trying to put all that together, passing on the trust, letting them spin the wheel or spin the plates, giving them responsibility is something I think that's a big part of development, for them to leave with those same type of traits versus leadership of, hey, just come in and work your shift and let me get whatever I can out of you. I don't want to be like that, because you go to a meeting at a company where they get this part of the book where they tell you all that stuff, and then they just pat you on the head, manipulate you, and pretty much everything just stays the same as far as fair treatment of folks.
Right.
But as a person, I think again where the connection is at is you treating people like people, and management taking responsibility if it doesn't go right.
That's 100% true, and you do that. And I was going to ask you this question though: how do you prepare for an emergency?
What's an emergency?
Situation? So say something happens and somebody can't show up who's supposed to show up. But you know what? Today might be a perfect example, because we were supposed to have a guest today, Lance Baird from Underway Cafe. Check them out at YouTube. It's a really fun show where they put a chef who's used to a big kitchen at a restaurant on a small boat, and he has to cook them a meal while they're bouncing around out in the water. It's a very fun show. Anyway,
something down below or something. I was watching him today on the video, but
that's the example is he was supposed to be here. He didn't show up, and we're doing this podcast with just Kevin and I talking because there was an emergency.
Well, he was out of town, right?
Yeah.
So you can't. I look at I got two parts to that question. Emergency. I tell my team, Navy SEALs shoot back, right? So if the pressure comes, you don't just start running scared. You don't panic. First thing in an emergency.
That makes okay.
Second,
good.
what qualifies as an emergency? Because the job must get done. That's what I look at. Emergency is something that you don't foresee. Again, you crash. You got to get to the emergency, like something super.
You show up to a pier day and there's no bait.
It's not an emergency.
Okay.
You can buy bait. You can make bait. We done it, right? So this is where it goes back to the reactive versus proactive. Why ain't you got bait? Why is it an emergency all of a sudden? Who didn't pick up bait? Who dropped the ball? Again, that's where management has to say, hey, who X, Y, and Z didn't get done. Who forgot X? Is it an emergency? No, you just go to the store and purchase some more. You throw out some lures, tell the kids. But again, the first thing, you never panic.
Right.
There's no reason to panic.
I like that. That's great advice.
Then you can address some of those things and being a filmmaker. Let me give you a scenario. Filmmaking, man, something always going to go wrong. The lighting,
we know
the
that
battery,
just
right? Like there's those kinds of things that are going to always come up. So, but if you plan properly for most of it, your emergency should be very, very small. There shouldn't be a bunch of emergencies, but there is an emergency situation. First off, don't panic. Number two, execute, right? And if you train your brain, okay, here's a good one. Everybody see The Matrix and the kid's holding the spoon? There is no spoon. You know what I mean? If you don't freak out, nothing to freak out about.
Yeah.
It may be the way we grew up and the circumstances that we come from and live in. You've already trained your brain, your worldview on panicking and getting overwhelmed, that because sometimes some people sweat the petty stuff and it's like, bro, it's not even an emergency. I hate to see what happens if something really happens,
Yeah.
If you're losing your cool and you're losing your emotions and everything is going rapid right now, imagine if something really catastrophic jumped off,
It's true. It's true.
So, and then there's another term I used to say is hope for the best, expect the worst.
Yep.
And again, that's some of that minor middle class mindset of what could go wrong, and you don't want to live in that mindset of everything's an emergency either. Something's just a little problem. The fires pop up. You just something just need a little. That's it. You just put it out, roll around. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now you got your house on fire. Yeah, you call 911. But some of these other little fires that you could just put out before freaking out and fire, like bro, it's just a couple matches.
Fix this. We'll make it work.
A couple matches.
Yeah.
So
that was always my quote unquote management style. Is just like somebody would make a mistake, and okay, you made a mistake. It's no big deal. Let's just fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not go around playing the blame game on whose fault it all was. Let's just fix the problem, because in most cases the problems can be easily fixed.
So here's another part. Here's a good question about why we do repetition. So that way, when the fire starts, you don't panic. So the guys that come here to visit us from, let's say, the Coast Guard or the Harbor Patrol, they do these drills. So that way, when they're on the boat and there's a real boat fire, it's just secondary nature to them.
Right.
So by having your people prepared through scenarios and what they're supposed to do through repetition, again, there is no panic, right? Again, you're in pest control. Your hose breaks. Do you panic? Do you run around and be like, oh, I'm spilling chemical? Or do you go through the procedure to turn it off, put out your little barrier, prevent extra spillage? If you're running around yelling, it's spilling, what are you doing?
You're not doing anything.
It's just more stuff's coming out. So the more you prepare for what you're lined up to do, I don't think you have too many. And when emergency comes, hey, you already know where the emergency kit's at.
Yep.
You know what to do. Nobody panics. So I think, that's the worst thing, because if something happens, it doesn't always mean it's an emergency. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And again, just going back to the term, like, if there's an emergency or something like that, emergency just always seems like 5-star. That's that time where you have to be that versus, oh, something just went wrong. That just because something went wrong I don't necessarily consider an emergency.
Right. That's true. That's and I didn't mean to. We led into the real emergency situations there. That wasn't really what I was asking about, but I'm glad we did.
But the same thing, right? So when you're an emergency, who do you call in? The emergency response team.
That's right.
Not the tow truck driver. The guy that knows what he's doing, not to panic and to get to the person and stop the bleeding and put him on a gurney. You don't want the plumber pulling over and be like, "Oh, I got this."
Right.
Like, no.
We get
let
the
the
guy.
MTV. I mean, I'm not saying you can't help somebody and get them that, but I want the emergency response team.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who rolled his car, and his head was turned, and he was choking on his own blood. Now, it's disgusting, I know.
Uh-huh.
And he would have died. But this another citizen drove up, pulled over, saw what was going on. All he did was tilt his chin, so that path, and he saved his life.
Uh-huh.
So it doesn't have to be a.
But see how he didn't panic, right?
He didn't panic.
He did it, right? He said, "I know what to do in the situation, the circumstance."
That's exactly right.
So
little touch.
So going back to what we're talking about is putting the right people in the position for the circumstance.
Yeah.
Here's another scenario, and this is going back to management and leading, and where we started talking this conversation about, right? Like, I'm not super cool on heights and climbing ladders on the second stories. Remember? So I would go do that bird job out there in Fillmore. And I would bring little Josh with me because he only weighed 100 pounds and he didn't mind doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't put myself in an uncompromising situation for an emergency to happen where Kevin falls through or falls off the ladder. So why not put our people in a comfortable environment that they're comfortable at? That probably help with preventing emergencies too, right? Sending somebody that's inadequate to handle the responsibility, or just flat out tells you, hey, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not going to do it. Oh, go in the backyard with my dog. Hey, ma'am, I don't feel comfortable with that, because emergency, when that dog goes to protect its owner, now it's just me and that dog in the backyard. So I'm going to have to excuse myself from putting myself in a vulnerable situation, so there is no emergency.
Right. That's true. That's all.
And then again, management respecting that to be like, oh, you didn't do it. You did. Here's another one I'll give you, right? I remember we had this is why I like to manage and coach and what I do, man. I remember my car, I got a flat tire up in Ojai, and we called for teams to come fix it or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And they tried to clown me at work about me not changing my own tire. Hey, we got roadside assistance. That's their gig. I don't feel comfortable with this little jack that you have behind here and under the seat.
You were at a weird angle too, weren't you?
All kinds of, we pay for a service. Now, if you want to clown me that I'm not mad enough because I didn't change my tire, then we could have some man-off challenges,
Yeah.
to see who could do the most push-ups or something. But again, as management, you should make sure that my safety is important, right? And getting me back on the vehicle versus me just hurry up and getting done to get my orders done.
Yeah.
Like, do you really care about my safety? Or you want me to, the 3 orders that I didn't get done because I was on the side of the road for an hour and a half?
That's exactly right.
So
safety always first. Safety should always be first.
So, but yeah, you're like, oh, well, you didn't do it. You couldn't. Yeah, why don't you come fix my tire?
Right. If that was such a big deal. Yeah.
If you want me on the road. So again, those are the types of things of humanizing people and treating them as best. And again, if we have a service that does car repair, why am I fixing the car?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly.
Am I going to call that guy to come do services for me? Hey, can you come knock down these cobwebs? Oh.
I had a flat tire in the parking lot at work, and I called AAA because I have AAA to come change the tire. Yep. And the guy did. Yep. It's like, he didn't say anything to me about it. He knew it was his job.
That's it.
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, without making so those are just some of the things that we're talking about. So when you get overwhelmed at work as an entrepreneur, is you want to be a cool leader, you want to be a great management, you want to be developing. And right now through what we have coming up, so we did get a grant with probation. I got to reply to a couple of emails. We're going to cut this one short here in a minute, Scotty, because I want to call Curtis.
We just wanted to get this done because Lance couldn't make it. We'll get Lance back on at another time.
It's a pretty cool show, man. I want to try it. They're cooking burgers down below, and I want to, Kevin.
Well, you're a natural at that. You're the master chef on those boats.
But what they do on this show is they put you like it's in a small cabin and stuff that they do it in. But then they I watched 2 episodes this morning. One of them, it wasn't so rough out there. His propane actually ran out, and so it was more of a malfunction of equipment than it was the weather condition.
Still made good food.
Right, and then the other one was the weather was really bad, and the guys in there were getting sick. But I know I've been on the Island Fox cooking and slipping, and the egg flies up off of the spatula and lands on the grill. I'm trying to do it in there. So I've had my fair share of continuing to cook, especially if you do like a twilight run, and we're going across that night, fish the East End on a bumpy night, and I'm cooking ooey gooey delicious double cheeseburgers. Man,
that's your.
But I guess there is a difference because I work on boats, so I could kind of anticipate that swell down to come up, so I kind of know how to lean into the grill. Like there's certain times where you feel that way. Once in a while, you get a rogue wave, and like hit the side of the boat, and like, whoa, come on, Captain. But yeah, I've definitely cooked.
How many times have you cooked on a boat? Hundreds, right?
Oh yeah,
hundreds.
Maybe 1,000.
And I've never had an ooey gooey cheeseburger. I really need to get one.
Yes, you do. You need to come out. But yeah, some days. Going across the middle of the trough in the middle of the channel could be a little bumpy, but anyway, I'd give it a try. I'd try to cook my burger down there. I think I could do all right.
I imagine you could.
Speaking of that, so we got this probation, and then starting in April, I will be cooking on the boats every other Sunday, and some Mondays perhaps, just as a relief cook to get out there and fish. We'll have our learning center will still be open. We'll have one of our staff in here.
Very nice.
We did grow some staff, and that's kind of where it's going down to, is that we're going through a transitional part of our program and organization of bringing some of these interns up as staff, making sure they're well equipped on how to do the job when Kevin's gone. Not I mean to talk on the third party, but as we're expanding, trust in saying, hey, you're in charge with the keys and the alarm, and the responsibility to show up here on time and take care of business is something we're going to delegate now. So it's kind of, making sure everybody's trained up with the right responsibility, trust, and this is what we would talk about in pest control. I go back to a lot. We have this thing called a realistic expectation, right? I can't kill all your bugs. I'm gonna exterminate, I'm gonna control them. And that's what I think is really important, is laying out a realistic expectation. When we go to our kid fishing days, we tell people, hey, within the first hour, you're going to be a pro. So they're already expecting, if I just try what Kevin showed me, and then they're on their own, right? So kind of laying out an expectation of what's expected of folks. So that way we could always come back to say, hey, well, we're not hitting the expectation. Was it because you didn't have your gear? You just didn't show up? Then we can address those things appropriately by still keeping the person as a human being and not just a robot. And then we could all be successful as an organization.
Right. My buddy, Randy Willis, owns the Harbor Cove Cafe out there in the Ventura Harbor. And for many months after his manager left, he was running the place entirely by himself. And he was there basically 7 days a week. And he finally got a nice staff in place. The people were all terrific over there. They got great cooks. They got great cocktail makers. They got great delivery people and everything else. And now he's at the point where he can actually leave for 3 days, and the place is under control. He doesn't have to worry about it. That's what I want for you.
Thank you.
I want you to have that.
So, I just left Anna Cappuccino, and there was the Neo sisters in there. So the Neos are a family that live right here. They play football with my kids and stuff.
Speaking of the Matrix.
Yeah, there's like 10 of them or something. Good people though, man, right? I know their dad, and the only thing with their dad's a Patriot fan, go Dolphins. But other than that, he's cool people. But I was admiring how Jessica, had them running her shop while she was gone. And I looked at that. I was putting my creamer in my coffee, and they were taking care of all the coffee and the customers, and Jessica was gone, and I was like, that's my next mission. So
there you go. That's good.
Yeah.
So we have a guest for next week?
I think so. Sorry, Max, I'm kind of halfway tired. I think it's a combination of carb depletion, and I did work out this morning. We've already did a grant assessment or with our consultant
discussion. Yeah. Review maybe.
Well, we have a lot coming up. So this Saturday, I'll be at the university, at the Channel Islands University, speaking on this justice movement thing.
Nice.
So we got to get that ready. They want the slides by tomorrow. She was off for like 2 weeks, so they need the slides by the end of the day tomorrow. Okay. You see me emailing those documents.
I did.
We have another grant that's due from the Ventura Rotary that's due Friday. And and then we reviewed the probation documents I'm about to sign and send back. So an hour going through that and then talking about what's coming on after that. So we have like 3 deadlines that need to be done.
You always have
days.
Deadlines. So. Kevin has deadlines every day. He's being modest if he thinks it's only
But
Friday.
this is it. This month right here, getting all these things done should help solidify us. And then now we have the staff again to come in so that the interns know what days are going to be here and they can take some of that off my plate, spend those plates of their own.
Yep.
It's just a matter of just getting them all settled in. So that's what this month's going to do. So that's what you guys got to hear, a little precursor of what we have coming up. I have Adam Casillas down.
He was the last one I had on my list, but I figured he'd already been here, so we may have to find somebody else.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Maybe and while you have your calendar open, we'll do this off air. I have a couple of days I won't be here next month.
What the heck?
Because I'm going to Hawaii.
We're going to Hawaii. Okay, I hope it's the 12th because we don't have a guest for that.
I will be here the 12th.
And then we have Jamie Dimon on the 19th.
I'll be here the 19th
of March.
After that, I won't be here.
And then we don't have anybody on the 26th.
Good.
So you're free that day.
Yeah, right. And then the following in April, first week in April, I don't think I'll be here either. I'll send you.
I don't think we didn't get in April. All right, so that's it. We stopped at the end of March.
By the way, if you want to be a guest on the show, what's the email address to send to get up to be a guest? Because we always looking for guests.
realanglerci@gmail.com. You don't have to be local. You could be out of towner and you want to talk about some stuff. I think my original sponsor that I started going to AA with, Troy, he wants to come in and talk about sobriety. Nice. So we'll see what's up with him.
Okay.
Getting him in here. And it's good right now because some of these guys that I have on here talking about what we're going through, we have a men's group here on Tuesdays too, man. And it's, where we're able to, we don't compromise our manliness to discuss about things that are going on, but also looking back in our genealogy to see, we come from 4 lines of alcoholics. So it's not like, even though we're burdening it right now, you can look back to be like, man, I bet my dad burdened the same thing at 40 years old. And maybe get a little bit more understanding and empathy of what he might have gone through when we just think they're jerks or disappear because you find out that their grandpa or their dad, was burdening some stuff
reasons
too. So
there may be a
little bit more empathy and understanding on us men of what we're going through and what we watched growing up as kids that we really have inherited. So those are good topics to talk about.
Absolutely. And again,
without being a punk, because that's the one you go through, right? Because if you talk about that or why you get defensive because you're trying to defend this manliness, but without what we think is compromising it. How's that?
That makes sense. It does.
I'm a warrior, and warriors don't talk. It's like, yeah, well, I'm still human.
That's right.
I'm a human warrior.
You're a human warrior. That's exactly right. And by the way, you don't have to be local to come into the studio to do the podcast either. We can do it via remote. So anywhere you are in the world, if you want to be a guest on the Real Anglers podcast, just realanglerci@gmail.com.
That's real, REEL. Keep it real, not REAL. It's real, REEL, like a fishing reel or a movie reel.
That was an important part. So are we out of here?
I'm yawning. I think maybe I need a scoop of my pre-workout or something, man.
Or maybe a nap.
What?
He's got time for that.
I got to teach kids to fish and carpinteria. And on top of that, man, that's really going good. And last week we caught like 7 perch, big ones, and the kids are all fishing on their own, tying their own lures on and the gear.
Are they loving it? Are the kids loving it?
Yeah, in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna give them a survey and see where they're at. They're halfway because we're halfway done. So. Then the funding for that, to let you guys know some of my personal business. The funds I get for that, I'm looking to put down to try to buy me a condo at the end of the year, first-time home buyer. So thank God for the blessings, man, that I have. So through probation and this, I might be able to continue my search to be a first-time home buyer for the Brannon family on our side, and that's my goal, man.
More power to you, brother.
That's right. Thank you, God. I'm going to give my glory to him, man. Some of these doors are opening and where we're going, man. There's my story. There's no my story without his story. So thank you, Jesus.
I think Barry needs to say goodbye.
Barry, get us out of here. Let's go.
See you next week, folks. Brought to you by AftCo Fishing Apparel and Tackle, designed to perform. Channel Islands Sport Fishing, offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats, and more. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. See what's out there. Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.